Hello everybody, this is just a quick video to run through the deck build for my Boxing League deck for Commander Raids. So let's get right into the cards, why I picked them, what the idea or kind of theme is behind the deck, and what I hope to have happen during the games. So I chose Tatyova, Benthic Druid, for my Commander. And she's pretty central to the basic concepts behind the deck. It's not a really cohesive or super synergistic deck. The idea is basically just to draw a bunch of cards, put a bunch of land out so I can enable some of the big, beefier cards that I have to play with. If you're not familiar with her, she's a 5 casting cost, 3 generic and blue and green, 3/3, legendary merfolk druid. When you play a land, or actually when it just enters the battlefield under my control, I gain 1 life and get to draw a card. So the idea is let's get a bunch of land out there, or at least a bunch of mana out there, to enable some of the more powerful cards that I have. In order to do this, I have a bunch of mana dorks, including 3 birds of paradise, 3 werebears, which add 1 green mana, and if they have threshold 7 or more cards in my graveyard, they also get +3/+3 if I need some more beaters. I have Krosan Restorer, 3 of them. They untap a target land, and you'll see some synergies with that. I have some wild growths in here. I have Elvish Aberration that can be both a beater and a mana dork, and if absolutely needed, I can forced cycle it. I have 3 copies of that. As I said before, with the synergies for the Krosan Restorer, I have wild growths, and I am running, I don't know why I did it that way, 4 copies of wild growth, so that the basic concept is load up a single land with 4 wild growths and get to untap it with the Krosan Restorer. I also have a minor synergy of trying to get some creatures onto the board with 2 copies of Squirrel Nest, and the other enchantment that I have for utility is Mystic Remora, simply to draw cards early. That's another sub-theme of this deck, is to draw a bunch of cards. Draw a bunch of cards, play a bunch of lands, and this is potentially one of the finishers in the deck. As you can see, it's very mana intensive, but if I can manage to trigger his second ability twice there, actually if I can even trigger the first one, I can get more creatures onto the battlefield, and then I can pump them up as many times as I can pump 5 mana into them. So that's potential game winner. I have Forgotten Ancient. I don't know why I was saying elemental. Whenever any player casts a spell, it gets +1/+1. That can get pretty big pretty quick. I also put in 4 copies of Juggernaut. They're just pretty generic 5/3 beaters that must attack every turn. I have a Deadwood Tree Folk, a little bit of utility there. When he enters or leaves the battlefield, return another creature from my graveyard to my hand. Kavu Primarch, that's another one that can become a beater if I have the kicker paid. The kicker is 4 generic, and if it was paid, I get to put 4 +1/+1 counters on it. They become 7/7s. I have 3 of those in there. I have some Symbiotic Beasts just for surety. They're beaters for a while, and if they die, they kind of replace themselves with 4/1/1s. Peregrine Drakes for a little bit of utility to also go with the wild growths and untap those lands. Just kind of an extra benefit. An Aven Fate Shifter, Fate Shaper. When he comes into play, I get to look at the top 4 cards in my library and then put it back in any order. And then I can just trigger that if I have a bunch of mana to help control what my deck is going to draw. Thieving Magpies to help with card draw. A Wormfang Drake, just because. And Arcanus the Omnipotent, also a wonderful little draw engine. Once he's online, I get to draw 3 cards a turn. So that was the sub-theme. Like I said, I want to draw cards, and in line with that, I do have a Stroke of Genius. I have 3 copies of Frantic Search, draw 2 cards and discard 2 cards, and untap up to 3 lands, which can also synergize with those wild growths. Deep Analysis, target player draws 2 cards and I can flash it back. More card draw. Impulse is more card draw. look at the top 4 cards in my library, put one of them into my hand and the rest on the bottom of in any order to help order my deck yet more. For some utility, I have a few counterspells, 1 Force of Will, and 2 regular counterspells. That will make the raid boss have to re-roll any super nasty rolls that he gets. A couple of utility spells, an instant and a sorcery, a Nature's Lore to help me get more lands onto the battlefield to hopefully trigger Tatyova, but I really don't have a lot of synergies to put more than 1 land into play per turn. And then crop rotation, we'll get to that. There are some specific lands that I do want to get to in the deck. One of them can be sort of a win con. So mana rocks, again, to help with the mana generation, of course, the Soul Ring, the Arcane Signet, and 4 Mind Stones for some mana rocks to also help with the mana curve and just try to get as much mana generation going as quickly as possible. I have a command tower that was one of the freebie includes. A Maze of Ith to try to help a little bit with survivability. That could potentially save my commander or somebody else's if they have to attack into the raid boss's death-touching flyers. As I said before with the crop rotation, I do have Dark Depths, and if I don't draw one, I have 2 copies of them in here. So hopefully I can get to a Dark Depths soon enough and start removing those counters. So if you're not familiar with Dark Depths, it comes in with 10 counters on it, and I can pay 3 generic mana to remove an ice counter. So if I can generate a ton of mana, I can get this thing going pretty doggone quick. When it has no ice counters on it, I sacrifice this land and put a 2020 Black Avatar flying legendary indestructible 2020 attacker. I mean, if I can get that going at all, that could also be a game ender. I put 3 Mishra's Factories in there because, well, I can, and it also helps avoid board wipes. The raid boss really doesn't have any way to get rid of these. I don't have to attack with them. I don't have to turn them into creatures, and I don't have to attack with them into his death-touching flyers. But if I need creatures after he wipes, I can still get these going if I have enough mana. So, again, these are just kind of utility. I think they'll be helpful. I put in a few cycling lands. I'm not sure that I'll ever cycle them, but maybe I need to draw cards to search for an answer. But if I put it in, you know, Tatyova, and Tatyova is in play, then I can just use them for Tatyova's ability. But if I don't have her in play or she's too expensive, I still have a little bit more, I guess you could say card draw instead of late game lands. The rest are all just basic lands, and that is the entirety of the deck. If I were to put it in a bracket, it would be a bracket 1 deck. I don't have any massive combos. It's all pretty much battle cruiser if I can get to it with enough mana. And that's it for this deck. We'll be test piloting it here on Saturday. What is today? The 19th. So that'd be 21st. The 22nd, I believe it is. On Cardboard Conversation member only stream. And then a little bit later, maybe I think like a week or two, we'll open that up to the public. So enjoy. If you are watching, please consider becoming a member and subscribing if you're not. At 99 cents a month will get you in there for the member benefits. So let me know what you think in the comments. Again, this was built, watch our previous videos, from an entire box of Dominaria Remastered. So I enjoyed very much drafting it, and we'll see how well it plays out. We'll see if it works. Anyways, thanks again. Appreciate you tuning in. Remember to give us a thumbs up, a like, and subscribe if you have not done so.